Have you ever had the curious sense that you don't quite belong here? That somehow everyone else seems to know the rules of a game you never agreed to play? You walk through life like an actor who has wandered onto the wrong stage, surrounded by people speaking lines from a script you've never read. And you think to yourself, perhaps I'm broken, perhaps I've missed something. But what if you haven't missed a thing? What if your not fitting in is not a mistake, but a message? You see, we are taught from childhood to conform, to shape ourselves into the expectations of others, to become acceptable, proper, and useful. Society, like a great machine, has many moving parts, and it wants you to be one of them, a cog that turns smoothly in rhythm with the rest. But here lies the problem. You are not a cog, you are life itself, unpredictable, untamed, and magnificently unique. And so naturally you don't fit in, because you were never meant to. Imagine a forest. Every tree grows in its own direction, toward the same sun, but with its own bend, twist, and curve. Some trees grow tall and slender, others are gnarled and wide. Some lean toward the river, others reach over the rocks. Yet no one accuses a tree of being wrong. The forest does not demand conformity. It thrives precisely because of diversity. But we humans, clever as we are, decided that sameness is safety, and in that pursuit we began pruning ourselves, cutting away the parts that didn't match the garden plan of culture. But the trouble is, every time you trim a part of your soul to fit into society's design, you become less alive. You may blend in more, yes, but you lose your color, your scent, your wildness. You become like a song played in the wrong key, technically correct, but spiritually flat. And so you begin to feel restless. You begin to feel that faint unease, that quiet whisper inside that says, something's off. I'm pretending most people, terrified of that whisper, drown it out with noise, endless entertainment, endless conversation, endless scrolling. But if you listen carefully, that whisper is not your enemy. It's your soul calling you home. Now, I'm not suggesting rebellion for rebellion's sake. It's not about running away from society, but about awakening within it. You don't need to destroy the system. You need to remember that you are not the system. You are the consciousness aware of it. The outsider who observes the play and realizes, this is theater. When you realize this, something extraordinary happens. You stop trying to belong and start simply being. You stop performing and start living. You see that belonging was never about adjusting yourself to fit into a mold. It was about understanding that your uniqueness is not a flaw in the pattern. It is the pattern. The world would not be complete without your particular shape in it. Let's take an example. The poet, the artist, the mystic, these are all people who didn't fit in, not because they were failures at life, but because they were tuned to a different frequency. They saw life as art, not as a race. They lived on the edge of mystery, not the center of convention. And because they did, they gifted the world beauty. But society, poor thing, has a hard time with this. It's a nervous creature, forever trying to organize life into categories, to make the unknown known. It fears the unpredictable, the original, the wild. So when you show up in your authentic strangeness, society gets uneasy. It doesn't know where to place you. It calls you odd, eccentric, maybe even wrong. But this discomfort is not proof of your error. It's proof of your aliveness. To live authentically is to be misunderstood, because when you live from the heart, you live from a source that doesn't need approval. And those who are trapped in imitation will not understand that freedom. They will look at you with suspicion, because your freedom reminds them of their chains. So perhaps you don't fit in because you're the reminder, the signal that it's possible to live differently, that life can be spontaneous, unrehearsed, and beautiful without structure or plan. The irony is, the moment you stop trying to belong, you begin to attract the people who truly resonate with you. You see, authenticity acts like a beacon. When you stand as yourself, unapologetically, you send a signal into the world. And those who are tuned to that same wavelength find their way to you, not because you fit in, but because you stand out. You were never meant to fit into a world that prizes conformity over consciousness. You were meant to awaken within it, to remember that fitting in is not the goal. Being alive is. When you cease to struggle to belong, you discover something rather curious. Belonging happens naturally, but never where you expected it. You may not fit neatly into your family, your workplace, or your social circle, but you begin to sense that you belong to life itself, to the wind, to the trees, to the great unfolding of existence. You see that your true home is not a place or a group, but the present moment. But of course, the mind resists this. It has been trained to measure worth by acceptance. It asks, what will they think of me? Am I doing it right? Am I normal? These questions haunt us like ghosts, don't they? Because behind them is a deeper fear, the fear of isolation, the fear that if we are different, we will be cast out into the wilderness. And yet, it is in that very wilderness that we often find ourselves. Every mystic, every enlightened soul, every artist worth remembering had to walk into that wilderness, alone. The desert, the mountain, the forest. These are not only geographical places, but metaphors for that inner space where one meets oneself without disguise. You must go there at least once in your life, not necessarily by packing a bag and leaving town, but by being willing to be misunderstood, to be alone with your own truth. Now, there's a paradox here. You cannot truly be yourself while trying to please everyone else. But when you stop pleasing, when you live in alignment with your own rhythm, something miraculous happens. Life itself starts to cooperate with you. The right people appear, the right opportunities unfold, and you realize that the universe was never against you. It was simply waiting for you to show up as you. You see, most people live as copies of copies. They imitate what they think success looks like, happiness looks like, spirituality looks like. They dress, speak, and dream according to borrowed scripts. And because of this, they never experience the deep satisfaction of being real. It's a bit like eating artificial fruit. It looks convincing, but it nourishes nothing. Fitting in is a subtle form of self-abandonment. It's trading your inner harmony for external approval. And yet, when you do this for long enough, the soul begins to rebel. You might not hear it at first. Maybe it starts as fatigue, anxiety, or the strange feeling that you're living someone else's life. But eventually, the voice of your deeper self becomes impossible to ignore. It says, enough. It's rather like a musician who keeps playing someone else's melody. After a while, his fingers start to itch, longing to improvise, to let his own tune emerge. And when he finally does, the music flows effortlessly, not perfect, but alive. That's what it means to be authentic. But here's the secret. Authenticity is not something you do. It's what's left when you stop pretending. It's the natural state of being when all masks are removed. You don't have to force it. You only have to allow it. We are conditioned to think that if we reveal our true selves, we'll be rejected. But more often than not, the opposite is true. People may not understand you, but they'll feel your honesty. They'll sense the quiet power of someone who is not performing, and deep down they'll envy it, because they too long to drop the act. The problem is we have mistaken fitting in for love. But love does not require you to shrink. Love expands to meet you as you are. True connection can only exist between two authentic beings. Anything else is a dance of masks. So if you don't fit in, consider this. Maybe you were born to create a new space rather than occupy an old one. Maybe your role is not to blend into the world, but to help expand it. Every innovator, every visionary, every soul that moved humanity forward was once told they didn't belong. And thank heaven they didn't, because their refusal to conform became the very thing that gave life its next step. Do you remember as a child how effortlessly you were yourself? You didn't question your laughter or your curiosity. You didn't ask permission to imagine. Somewhere along the way, the world taught you that to be accepted, you had to become smaller, quieter, more predictable. But your true nature never left. It's simply waiting beneath the layers of adaptation. And so, when life makes you feel like an outsider, that is not punishment. It's a signal, a sacred invitation to return to that original state of wonder. To remember that your uniqueness is not an obstacle, it is your offering. Now think about it this way. No two snowflakes are alike, yet each contributes to the beauty of the storm. The sky does not weep because one flake is different from another. The beauty depends on their difference. Likewise, the universe does not need you to imitate, it needs you to be exactly what you are. But this realization can be unsettling. It means that the approval you once sought may never come, not because you're unworthy, but because the crowd cannot validate what it does not understand. And so, there's a kind of loneliness that comes with awakening, the loneliness of realizing that few people see the world the way you do. But that loneliness is not emptiness, it's spaciousness. It's the space in which you begin to hear your own soul clearly for the first time. And in that silence, you discover a peace that belonging could never give you, because fitting in keeps you on the surface of life, forever adjusting, forever performing. But standing alone takes you to the depth, to the place where you are not defined by others, but by awareness itself. And there, in that quiet depth, you realize something astonishing. You were never truly an outsider. You were simply standing at the edge of illusion, seeing what others could not see. The truth is, the world needs its outsiders. Without them, there would be no evolution of thought, no expansion of understanding, no progress of the human spirit. The outsider sees what others cannot, not because he is better, but because he is positioned differently. He stands at the edge of the crowd, and from that vantage point, he sees the whole dance. You see, when you fit too perfectly into the machinery of society, you become part of its rhythm. Efficient, yes, but unconscious. The great irony is that society, in its effort to make everyone belong, often drains them of the very spark that makes them human. It teaches you to value security over curiosity, reputation over truth, and obedience over wisdom. But what it cannot take, unless you give it freely, is your awareness. And this awareness is precisely what makes you different. You begin to notice the absurdity of the game, people rushing endlessly toward goals they never chose, defending opinions they never examined, chasing happiness that vanishes the moment they catch it. You start to see that the normal world is, in many ways, a performance, a grand masquerade. And once you've seen that, you cannot unsee it. But then comes the real challenge: how to live in the world while knowing it's an illusion. How to participate in the play without becoming lost in the role. This is the art of living, to dance with society without being hypnotized by it. Imagine an actor who knows he's on stage. He plays his role with conviction, but he doesn't mistake the costume for his true skin. He can laugh at the drama because he knows it's make-believe. Similarly, when you awaken to the awareness that life structures are human inventions, money, status, politics, even the idea of normality, you begin to see that your freedom was never outside you. It was only ever hidden beneath layers of pretending. When you realize this, fitting in loses its allure. You no longer crave approval from people who are themselves pretending. Instead, you find joy in simply being, in living each moment as it is, without the pressure to prove anything. This, of course, frightens the collective mind, because when you are truly free, you become unpredictable. You can't be controlled by praise or shame. And that makes you powerful, not in the way society defines power, but in the way truth is powerful. It shakes illusions, it awakens others. But don't be surprised if some react defensively. When you no longer fit into their expectations, they may call you aloof, arrogant, or strange. They might even try to pull you back into the old rhythm. But understand, they are not your enemies. They are simply afraid. They've spent their whole lives trying to belong, and your freedom challenges that illusion. It shows them there's another way, and that can be terrifying. So your task is not to convince them, nor to judge them. Your task is simply to remain awake, to embody what it means to live authentically. By doing so, you become like a quiet flame in the dark. You don't need to shout or preach. Your presence itself becomes a reminder that there is something beyond the noise. You see, life is not asking you to conform, nor is it asking you to rebel. It is asking you to realize, to see through the illusion of separation. Because once you see that you and the world are not two, that your consciousness and existence are one, the whole question of fitting in dissolves. You no longer try to find your place in the world. You understand that you are the world, expressing itself as you. It's like waves in the ocean. Some waves are tall, some short, some crash, some glide, but none are separate from the sea. Imagine a wave comparing itself anxiously to others. wondering if it fits in with the ocean's standards. How absurd that would be. And yet, that's exactly what most of us do. We forget that we are the ocean, pretending to be waves competing for approval. The outsider, the one who doesn't fit, is the wave that wakes up to its true nature. It realizes, I am not separate. I am the movement of the whole. And with that awareness comes peace. You can still play your role, parent, worker, artist, lover, but you play it with lightness, without the heavy burden of identity. To not fit in, then, is to be in harmony with truth. Because life itself doesn't fit into categories. It is wild, fluid, and full of contradictions. And when you allow yourself to be that, unpredictable, genuine, free, you are finally aligned with the real rhythm of existence. But you must be willing to stand alone for a time. There's no way around that. To awaken is to outgrow the old shell of belonging. It can feel like losing everything. But what you're really losing are your illusions. And in their place, something far more beautiful arises: clarity. Clarity is not comfort, but it is freedom. It's the quiet knowing that you are exactly where you need to be, even if no one else understands. It's the courage to walk your path without applause. And it's the understanding that your difference is not a curse, it's a form of service. Because by being real, you give others permission to do the same. The world changes not through mass conformity, but through the courage of those who refuse to pretend. The ones who live truthfully, even when it costs them belonging. Those are the souls who stretch the boundaries of what it means to be human. So if you find yourself not fitting in, don't rush to fix it. Don't dull your edges to make others comfortable. Stay as you are, sharp, questioning, awake. The world may not applaud, but existence itself will smile, for it recognizes one of its own waking up. You see, the moment you realize that you don't fit in, something wonderful begins to unfold. The very thing you once called a curse reveals itself as your greatest blessing. For when you are no longer bound by the need to belong, you become available to truth, to wonder, to the infinite play of life. Most people spend their lives trying to be accepted, trying to belong to groups, tribes, movements, or nations. They wear badges, labels, and ideologies as if those were proof of their existence. But all of that is merely decoration, the clothing of the mind. What you truly are cannot be contained within any label, because what you are is not a thing at all, but a process, an unfolding, a current of consciousness flowing through time. And once you see this, you begin to live differently. You no longer move through life as someone trying to get somewhere. You realize you've already arrived, that this moment, here and now, is it. The destination was never out there. It was always the stillness beneath your own awareness. That's when belonging loses its grip. Because belonging, as most understand it, implies a division, a me trying to find a place in something larger. But when you awaken, you see that there never was a separation. The universe isn't something you're inside of. You are the universe expressing itself as this temporary human form. So when you feel like you don't fit in, remember, that is life reminding you not to shrink into a costume. The discomfort you feel is not rejection, it's expansion. It's your spirit growing beyond the narrow walls of expectation. It's like the moment a bird realizes the cage door is open. At first it hesitates. The cage, after all, was familiar, predictable, safe. Freedom feels uncertain, perhaps even frightening. But once it takes flight, it can never return to the old comfort of confinement. Likewise, once you've seen your true nature, once you realize you are not the mask you've been wearing, there's no going back. You can still visit the world of masks, but you'll never mistake them for reality again. This is what it truly means to be awake. Not to escape the world, but to see it as it is, a magnificent illusion, a cosmic dance where every being plays its part. And when you stop resisting your own part, when you play it fully without apology, you discover that you do belong, not to society's game, but to existence itself. Now, this doesn't mean you must reject the world or live as a hermit. Quite the opposite. You can walk through the marketplace, work at your job, share tea with friends, and yet remain free. The trick is to participate without attachment, to play the game without forgetting that it is a game. It's much like the art of music. The beauty of a song isn't in rushing to the final note. It's in dancing through the melody, feeling every tone, every pause. Life is not a journey toward a fixed goal. It's a performance, a dance. And to dance well, you must be spontaneous. You must listen to the rhythm as it happens, not as you wish it to be. But society often teaches us to dance to someone else's tune, to live according to schedules, standards, and scripts written long before we arrived. And so, we lose our rhythm. We stumble, trying to follow steps that don't fit our feet. The moment you drop that effort and let your own rhythm emerge, you rediscover grace. You rediscover flow. And here's the paradox. When you stop trying to fit in, you begin to truly connect. Because real connection doesn't happen through conformity, it happens through authenticity. When you stand as you are and without masks, without performance, others can finally see you. And those who resonate with your truth will find you effortlessly. It's as if life rearranges itself to match your frequency. People, opportunities, and moments begin to align in ways you could never have planned. You realize that the universe was never against you. It was simply waiting for you to stop pretending to be someone else. Now, I must tell you, this path is not always comfortable. Awakening rarely is. There will be times when your old self tries to pull you back, whispering, "Be careful, don't stand out, don't make waves." But waves are what you were born to make. You are not the still pond society wishes you to be. You are the movement, the tide, the living expression of the ocean itself. And if that means others don't understand you, so be it. Understanding is not required for love. In fact, the deepest love often grows in the space beyond understanding. You were never meant to blend into the noise. You were meant to bring a new tone, a new vibration, a reminder of what it means to be truly alive. That's why the universe made you different. Because if everyone fit neatly into the same pattern, nothing would ever grow. The flowers bloom in their own time, the stars burn in their own color, and rivers carve their own paths through stone. None of them ask permission. None of them apologize for existing. Why should you? You don't fit in because you were not meant to follow. You were meant to remember. To remember that the goal of life is not conformity, but consciousness. Not acceptance, but awareness. Not safety, but truth. And the most beautiful part? When you finally embrace your difference, when you wear your strangeness as your crown instead of your chain, you will discover that you've never been alone. There are countless others who also never fit in. Souls who see through the same illusion, who recognize in you the same light that burns in them. And when those souls find each other, something extraordinary happens. Together, they create a new kind of belonging, one rooted not in sameness, but in freedom. So if you ever feel out of place, remember, you are not a mistake in the pattern. You are the space between patterns, the quiet reminder that there is more to life than what is seen. You are the question that keeps the world alive. And perhaps that is your true purpose, not to fit in, but to awaken others by daring to be yourself. So go ahead. Walk your strange, beautiful path. Speak your truth, even if your voice trembles. Dance to the rhythm only you can hear, because in doing so, you honor the very force that created you, the universe expressing itself joyfully as you.